What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Vince McMahon in major trouble as more affairs and more payoffs in the hush money scandal, Naomi and Sasha Banks confirmed WWE exit, a WWE champion forced to vacate the title due to injury, bad news for CM Punk, Pat McAfee signs a new WWE deal, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Now first we look at Vince McMahon in major trouble as more affairs have been surfaced. Atop of today's news is a shocking report concerning the ongoing Vince McMahon hush money deal, as Wall Street Journal is reporting Vince McMahon, World Wrestling Entertainment Inc.'s longtime leader, agreed to pay more than $12 million over the past 16 years to suppress allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity, an amount far larger than previously known. The payouts went to 4 women, all formerly affiliated with WWE, who signed agreements with Mr. McMahon that prohibited them from discussing potential legal claims against or their relationships with the 76-year-old executive, according to people familiar with the deals as well as documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. While the story is still developing, the Journal report added the previously unreported settlements include a $7.5 million pact with a former wrestler who alleged that Mr. McMahon coerced her into giving him oral sex and then demoted her, and ultimately declined to renew her contract in 2005 after she resisted further sexual encounters, according to people familiar with the matter. The wrestler and her attorney approached Mr. McMahon in 2018 and negotiated a payment in return for her silence, the people said. The Journal discussed a $1 million payout from a WWE contractor who allegedly received unsolicited nudes from Mr. McMahon and claimed he harassed her. There was reportedly a 2006 agreement for a manager who worked 10 years in the WWE, and Mr. McMahon allegedly initiated a relationship with her and was paid $1 million to keep her quiet about it, according to the people familiar with the deal. The story also provided details on the former head of talent relations, John Laurinaitis. The board is looking at a $1.5 million non-disclosure agreement reached in 2012 with an employee involving misconduct claims against Mr. Laurinaitis, the people said. Fans will recall Laurinaitis lost his job as head of talent relations at one point prior to his current leave of absence, and the Wall Street Journal article provides some insight into why that might have happened. Mr. Laurinaitis, a former wrestler known as Johnny Ace, had been head of WWE talent relations for 8 years when he was forced to step down in 2012 and take a smaller role at the company. His demotion came around the same time as the $1.5 million deal with the employee, who alleged she had an affair with Mr. Laurinaitis and that he demoted her after she broke it off, people familiar with the non-disclosure agreement said. Now we'll definitely continue in this story after more information is revealed. What do you think is next for Vince McMahon? Do you think he's sweating right now? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Naomi and Sasha Banks confirm exit from WWE. Now there's more rumors concerning the former women's tag team champions Naomi and Sasha Banks, whose may walk out on the WWE led to the company stripping them of the tag titles and criticizing both women on television. By now we've all heard the various rumors about both superstars' status with the promotion, but fans have yet to hear anything conclusive as to whether they're still working in the WWE. Dave Meltzer provided an update in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter saying, "There is nothing new on the Banks or Naomi past. They were taking off the internal roster for SmackDown and Morgan was added according to PW Insider. Banks and her attorneys are working on a release and there have been unconfirmed reports of the release, but no WWE sources have indicated that's the case. Nothing has been done with the women's tag titles since the night they left and they announced a tournament. They haven't even set up any regular teams for a tournament of late. A Fightful Select is reporting they've exhausted their resources to get an update, and the Patreon site has this tidbit. Nobody that we've heard from on WWE's digital end has been prompted to remove them from the official website's roster, and as of now we do not have an official confirmation or denial from WWE on the contractual status of Naomi and Sasha Banks. As for a contingency plan, should Naomi and or Sasha reconcile, Fightful reports one member of the creative team said they'd not heard from any contingency plans or creative prepared in the event that things come together. Ringside News noted some changes to Naomi and Sasha Banks' social media accounts, saying both changed their Instagram bios by replacing WWE superstar with professional wrestler, seemingly confirming their departure. Naomi also broke her silence by tweeting, "Built, not bought. Earned, not given. Hustled, not handed. Rare, not average." Now, as we've noted several times, there is so much rumor and innuendo surrounding this ongoing story that it's best to take a wait-and-see attitude when it comes to both superstars' future with the WWE. What do you guys think is happening with Naomi and Sasha Banks? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, bad news for CM Punk. As the injury bug continues to affect the wrestling world, fans are curious as to when they expect their favorite fighters to return from the injured reserve list. One such wrestler is current AEW World Champion CM Punk, who is still recovering from foot surgery. In a recent interview with the New York Post, AEW President Tony Khan revealed that he had to make major changes to Forbidden Door after the extent of CM Punk's injury was known. I knew CM Punk was gonna need some time. His x-ray came back Friday and it wasn't good. That's when I had to jump into a plan with Mox and the interim title and make a lot of changes to Forbidden Door. Now there's currently no timetable on Punk's return or that of Bryan Danielson, which leaves AEW without two of its biggest stars. AEW has a strong talent roster and should use these injuries to elevate new talent. Next up, Pat McAfee signs a contract extension. As great news for both Pat McAfee and SmackDown viewers as a former NFL punter and sports media sensation has signed a contract extension with the WWE. McAfee has been highly praised by fans and wrestlers alike for his work both as a color commentator and a wrestler, which makes extending his contract a no-brainer. McAfee is currently scheduled to face Happy Corbin at SummerSlam. Dave Meltzer noted in this week's Observer newsletter that the two former NFL players roomed together in 2009 during Corbin's brief run with the Indianapolis Colts. Next up, what's next for Charlotte Flair? That's a question that people are asking, as the Queen's return from kayfabe injury could happen at any time soon. Dave Meltzer speculated on a possible plan for Flair's return and how they could intersect with Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey's respective storylines. While not teased on Raw, the Morgan win over Rousey was designed to set up a rematch at SummerSlam. Charlotte Flair should be ready to return, so that could be her costing one or the other the match. Could Flair return and cost Morgan the belt so she can wrestle Rousey for the belt and beat her? Well, that's one possibility, but it could hurt Morgan's current honeymoon as women's champion. Meltzer also mused about the difficulties of booking Morgan versus Rousey. It'll be hard for Rousey to be babyface against Morgan, even if she was the good sport about losing her title under unfair circumstances. I can't see that Rousey losing to Morgan would have been on the table when she returned, but the pivot ended up being the thing that made the show. Rousey isn't anywhere near as over as her first run or when she returned. How they follow up on this is interesting. Rousey winning it back next month sounds bad because she'll be resented for it because of Morgan's popularity. And Meltzer thinks that the WWE will keep the belt on Morgan for at least a few months, even if the company isn't gung-ho on a push. Now we disagree and think Nikki Ash's short run, as well as Ronda Rousey's, showed there's no rule to watch when it comes to the women's title. Having Flair interfere during a Morgan vs Rousey rematch and costing Rowdy Ronda the belt seems like the best avenue, as it could enable Morgan to continue holding the belt and set up a good reason for Rousey wanting revenge on Flair, thus getting more mileage from their feud. Next up, a WWE champion vacates the title due to injury. It looks like the injury bug has spread to NXT UK as NXT United King champion Ilya Dragunov recently vacated the title due to an unknown injury. According to Cultaholic, WWE's UK brand held their first 2 days of tapings on Wednesday, July 6 at BT Studios in London, England, and Dragunov announced at the show that he was dealing with an injury and would be vacating the NXT UK Championship. If Dragunov is dealing with a genuine injury is unknown, though as spectators at BT Studios speculated the issue could be part of a storyline. Now an 8-man tournament began with Inside the Ropes' James Holder reporting in the first rounds of the match. Tyler Bate, Joe Kofi, Trent Seven and Oliver Carter advanced to the semi-finals. Dragunov held the belt for over 300 days after defeating Walter. A former NXT UK superstar Pete Dunne, who's now working on SmackDown as Butch, suggested Clash at the Castle should feature some of NXT UK's talent. I feel like NXT UK has gone so far under the radar the last couple of years. The quality of work that's being put out is unbelievable. And finally, Bayley spotted at the Performance Center. And last but not least is Bayley returning to WWE. Like Naomi and Sasha Banks' situation, that's something fans have heard many rumors about, but nothing substantial. However, a recent report suggests there may be hope, as PW Insider is reporting Bayley was at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando for several days earlier this week. Bayley's a free agent, which means she could show up on any brand when she returns. Where do you think she'll return? Let us know in the comments down below. I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.